In this module, we will look at the role of unions in social change. We'll cover the definition of labor unions, talk about some history of unions, give examples of unions and social movements and how they are connected, and we'll see some trends of unions throughout history and where we are today. If I were to ask you what you know about labor unions in this country, what would you say? Many of us know very little about the role of unions. Labor unions are associations of workers formed to protect workers' rights. The process of collective bargaining is how unions negotiate with employers. The contract negotiations specify workers' hours, pay and benefits, job health, safety policies, and respect on the job. Thanks to unions, workers have achieved higher wages, the 40-hour work week, safer working conditions, health benefits, and support when retired or injured. Trade union organizing among American workers began in 1794. Over the years, unions have had to battle racism and sexism in their ranks. It wasn't until 1867 that a couple of unions started to accept some women and black workers. Unions continued to keep black workers, women, and immigrants out of higher skilled and higher paid jobs until after World War II. Union membership reached a peak in 1979. However, over the past 40 years, we've seen a great decline in the pay, rights, and the health and safety of workers. Unions have been an important part of social movements in our country. For example, Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta, among many other Filipino and Mexican American farm workers, changed our view and some of the negative practices towards migrant and agricultural labor during the national grape boycotts of the 60s. Another example came in 1981 when the Professional Air Traffic Controllers Organization went on strike to protest unsafe and outdated equipment, long hours, and wages. Then President Ronald Reagan refused to negotiate, fired all 13,000 members, and replaced them with untrained staff. Many see this as the beginning of the decline in unions and in social movements that had been strong in the 60s and 70s. Another example is a company most of us are very familiar with. Since its beginnings in 1994 as an online seller of books, Amazon has been against the formation of unions. Amazon bosses have spent a lot of time and money to push back against unions, and it is one of the fiercest anti-union companies. The effort to unionize the 8,000-employee warehouse in Staten Island, known as JFK 8, was led by Christian Smalls and Derek Palmer, both of whom worked at the Amazon Fulfillment Center. In 2021, for 11 months, the team staked out a spot opposite the warehouse on Staten Island, intercepting staff on their way home to make the case that they need a union to fight for them in negotiations. Their demands from Amazon included higher pay, longer breaks, more paid time off, and paid medical leave, among other changes. Then in April of 2022, in what is being described as a modern-day David versus Goliath battle, that small group of workers succeeded in forming Amazon's first union at the warehouse on Staten Island in New York. Interest in unions is increasing, with 68% of Americans in favor of them in 2021. The COVID pandemic's key themes of employees forced to work without protective gear, no access to sick pay, and mass layoffs has mobilized workers and social movements. Some report that the biggest gains in union membership in recent years have been among workers aged 34 and under. These folks are unionizing in new sectors such as tech companies, digital media brands, and getting involved more in political campaigns. As you can see, labor unions have a long history of work, which has shaped our country and the rights that we have. What happens to unions and what happens to social movements are closely connected, and we all have a role to play. So in summary, if you find yourself saying, "I'm so glad it's Friday," thank a union. For more information on this topic, as well as other topics related to politics, government, and social change, please see our website, ruralorganizingcenter.org.